Hey everybody, it's Mrs. C, and I'm here with some word problems, your favorite and mine. Got some word problems. They are geometrical in theme, and the ones that I want to do are the rectangles because, yes, they are on your midterm that's coming up, and they seem to be the ones that I think frighten everybody. So I'm going to jump right into the first one up at the top and show you how I like to break them down so that they're not quite as scary as you might think. So let's read. We have the length of a rectangle right there. It's as far as I'm going to go. The length of a rectangle. When I read that I'm doing something that's geometric, I always draw a picture. So it's not always the greatest picture, but there's my rectangle. It said that the length, now usually this is how we roll. We usually call the long one the length and the short one the width. I have found that that is common among most people. So let's just go ahead and do that. We'll call the long one the length and the short one the width. It says the length of the rectangle, that's this one, is 3 times the width. So instead of calling it length, they're saying it's 3 times the width. That's not a problem. I have an eraser. Sorry, didn't realize you wanted to call it 3 times the width. And so what we do is we actually call it what they want to call it. Now, before I move any further, I just want to make note that we know special things about rectangles. Opposite sides are equal and parallel. And so I like to label every side so that I don't get tricked when I'm doing a perimeter problem, for example, and only add up 2 of the sides when I really am supposed to add up 4. All right, you'll notice this is a lot of talking for only one sentence, but this is what we've done so far. The length of the rectangle is 3 times the width. Here comes the if statement. Bum, bum, bum. When you see these if statements, draw another rectangle. I promise you they're doing something to your original. So if I call this one the original, now they say, yeah, but what if something happens? So let's read on. Wait, you know what? I believe it calls for another color. Wait, actually, you know what? No, I am going to show you something I think would be kind of cool. It could be an epic fail too. Here's my original. You see I have the W, the 3W, and the 3W. So let's just say, what if I did absolutely nothing? Well, it would kind of look like this. So let me erase my if because I have a feeling I might need that space. And now I am going to add my new imaginary color of change. Let's do like a nice blue. So here comes the change. It says, if the length is decreased by 4 meters. So what I want you to do is find the length. Remember we said it was the long one? They said decrease it. Don't make it as long. Take 3 meters off of it. Well, this is my length statement, right? And so is this. It said to decrease the length. It said, what if you decreased it? Well, what if you decreased it? It would be whatever it is, minus 4. Don't forget to do the other one. If we shaved off 4 meters, say, for example, maybe instead of as long as it is that way, we'd cut off a little bit more. So I feel like that might be a little, hang on a minute, visually confusing because I just kind of drew a length, didn't I? Meaning, if this is the, you didn't see that, hang on a minute, sorry about that. If this is the length, just don't make it quite as long, right? Because it's 4 meters less than it was. Now let's read the next one. It says, and the width is increased by 1 meter. Okay, so here's the width. Increase it by 1, making it 1 bigger. Okay, gotta kind of get creative on where I write that. There it is, being increased by 1, which means you're going to actually make it, what, bigger or shorter? Longer? It would actually be longer. So what this shape would look like would be something to the effect of be a little bit longer, right? And then it would cut into my other side a little bit, but this is what the shape would look like. So you see what they're doing? I find it, you don't have to do this with the picture, but I find it's kind of cool to have a handle on what they're actually saying, because it gives you a little bit more intuition possibly as to what you're doing. So now we have the situation. Albeit it is a little bit messy, but this is what happened. So I'm gonna erase this because I want working room, and I also want to be able to have you run through that thought process one more time on the original, but I am going to keep the different color. So look back at my original, right? The original is in green. The what if is in blue. So it said, one more time, if the length is decreased by 4, and the width is increased by 1, width being increased by 1, the perimeter will be 6. Now that's the new perimeter. So I'm using my blue. So if you do all this to the green, what you will result in is a perimeter that will be 66. So let's just go ahead and do all of this. Now to do it to the green, you have to have the green to start with, right? So what I like to do is add everything up. That's possibly, you could say, add everything up in green, and then add everything up that's in blue, or you could just add everybody up all at once, because commutative property of addition, it really doesn't matter the order. So if we add the 3W, and let me get my green back. I don't think this is the right shade, but 3W's, W, 3W's, W's. A lot of people want to tell me there's 4W's. Are there 4W's? Well, there's 4 letter W's, but the coefficients tell you how many W's are really there. So there's a total of 3, 6, 7, 8. There's a total of 8 W's. And now check out the blues. We don't want to forget them. We've got to have everybody at the party. We have a -4 and another -4. That's -8. A +1 and a +1. That's +2. So -8 and +2 is -6. Now the colors don't matter at this point. I probably should have done it all in one color, like black, because what we have right now is an equation that needs to be solved. Why did I add them all up? Because they gave me the perimeter of the new figure. That's adding up all the sides in a rectangle, and pretty much any figure we have in geometry for perimeter. So let me just do this quick solve. This is kind of cool with the colors, because my like terms are color-coded, and that kind of helps you, make sure you don't combine terms that are not alike. Not that you have a problem with that. You see, I'm going to all the same color now. 66 and 6 is 72. Divide by 8, so nicely divisible by 8. W is equal to 9. Now you might ask yourself, what was I supposed to be doing here? Well, look back at the original question. Find the dimensions of the original. They can ask you to do all kinds of crazy stuff, but they're asking for the dimensions, hence they want length and width, and in this case, I only have the W, so I do have to figure out what would be the length. That's an easy one. If the W of the original, so I'm going back to green just to help you, here's my W. Remember, the original was the one in green, so it's not the +1, that's the new one. So the original length and width is what I'm looking for. The original width is, it says it right there, it's 9, and then the original length was 3 times that, so it's 3 times 9, which is 27. So my final answer, which I could write it in several ways. Let me write it down here. I could write 9 by 27. Don't forget your units at this point. We can write meters, or you can write W equals 9 meters, L equals 27 meters. That's okay too. Or you could do 27 meters by 9 meters. Lots of ways to write dimensions. The important thing is you get the 9, you get the 27, and you get the units, because you have to have your units of measure for this to make sense in the real world. All right, I'm going to be moving on to the next one. Hope you got that, because the next one could be completely different. All right, well, I've cleared the board, and I'm going to start the next one, and I think I'm going to get you to walk through this with me a little bit, do some of the work. Don't make me do all the work. I am starting in a green color. You don't have to color code, by the way, but it's always a good thing. And what I'm going to do, I want you to read the first part, and I want you, because even without reading it, I know they're probably going to give me an original, and then they're going to ask me to do something, because I am peeking. I see the word if. I know it's coming. So I want you to do my original, and then go ahead and play it and find out if you set up the original right first. So you pause me, and then when you're ready, just with the first part, I want you to listen and see if you did it right. Now pause me. Seriously, do it. Okay, so now that they're gone, let's go over, or welcome back, I should say, length of a rectangle. So drawing my rectangle, knowing this is probably the original and something's going to happen, knowing my longer side is L and my shorter side is W, I find out who they're talking about. It says the length, again, of the rectangle is 6 longer than the width. Okay, so instead of calling it L, I'm calling it 6 longer than width. So I will not be using you again today, L. I'm doing 6 longer than width. Now remember, when you hear than, you hear more than, longer than, slower than, you have the minus 6 with the W in the front. Now this is some old school stuff we did quite a while back. You need it now because you can't write 6 minus W. It's just not what they're saying. They're not saying that it's width shorter or width longer than. I said longer. Excuse me much. I'm too busy talking to worry about silly things like signs. Yeah, right. Plus 6 is longer. Minus 6 would be shorter. Exactly. Let me shut up and just fill in my sides before I make a sillier mistake than that and don't catch it. Let's go over, make sure you did that right. The length of or make sure I did it right. The length of a rectangle is 6 longer than the width. That's about as far as I made it. Here comes my if. My if is in blue. I feel lucky with it. Lucky with it. Here we go. What are you going to do to me, rectangle? Let's see. If the length is increased by 9. Now find the side that you call length. That's the long one, right? It says if that length that you currently have is increased by 9, so do it. Plus 9, plus 9. That means that length is getting longer, right? Not shorter, longer. Let's take a look at the width, it says, and the width by 5. And the width by 5, what? Well, they're sharing the word increased. If the length is increased by 9 and width by 5, meaning you're increasing both of them. The width by 5, increased by 5. So it's getting bigger too. And then there you have it. You have a increased rectangle. And so it tells us that the, again, perimeter is 160. So what do I have to do to figure out what my length and my width are? Why don't you go ahead and try that out? Set up the new values, and then we will go ahead and figure out what they are. All right. If you went ahead to do that, let's see if you did it right. We'll take a look at what we have up here. And let me use a black color just so that you can see. This is my actual new length. It's W plus 6 plus 9. That would be W plus 15. And then I want you to look at this one. This is W plus 5. W plus 5 is W plus 5. This is W plus 15. And this one is W plus 5. Sorry, I'm out of space over there. So how many total W's do you have? Well, we have 1, 1, 1, 1, and the coefficients are 1. Therefore, I have 4 W's. Let me use this little space here. I have 5, 15. Well, that's 20. Now, you remember the rectangle. If you add up these two, then you wind up just doubling it to get the other two, which are exactly the same. So if 5 and 15 are 20, 20 and 20 is 40. So my perimeter, my if perimeter is 4w plus 20. And that equals 160, because that's the perimeter. All right, let me give myself some space. What was it? Let me write it. 4w plus, it was 40, right? I'm doing it 15 and 5 was 20 and 40. Is equal to the perimeter, 160. And let's just go quickly, because I don't want to make my video too long. I'm going to go ahead and figure out the surprise. W is equal to what? Dividing by 4. I'm getting W equal to 30. If the W is equal to 30, what was the original? Look back, it's the green, right? If the W is equal to 30, then the length would be equal to W plus 6, which would be 36. Throw your units in there, centimeters, centimeters, or 30 by 36, or 36 by 30, doesn't really matter. And we wind up with the final answer. Now, I like to do a little quick check step. I like to add all those up, make sure they give me 160. And I also like to do a little quick check step to make sure that the original still works. If I have W is W plus 6 the length, yes. If I have 30, then 30 plus 6 is the length. So those are my check steps. I'm going to close this up before my video gets too long. I've left you another one to a couple other problems if you'd like to try, and come back to class and we'll work them out together. Peace out.